See if you can guess who that is. I would consider him to be, and others would as well, the most successful businessman in the world based on his tenacity. He failed primary school twice, middle school 3 times, failed his university entry exam 3 times. And if you are familiar with how the Chinese culture works, you'd realize just how bad these things are. He was rejected by the police force and even KFC. So the story goes, he was with 20 individuals applying for a job at KFC, and he was the only one they didn't hire. He applied for Harvard 10 times, rejected every single time. I think they actually gave him an honorary degree. When he wanted to start a company, VCs wouldn't fund him. He didn't start playing the victim card like you see people do on Twitter. He simply bootstrapped his company with $20,000 US his wife and friend helped him raise. Well, he showed a return of 241 million% on that original investment. He is the founder of Alibaba. And he says here, if you don't give up, you still have a chance. Giving up is the greatest failure. This gentleman was a dragon and had everything going against him, and his tenacity is what made him succeed. Dragons are people who are told they can and will accomplish something, often succeed because they feel it's their destiny. If you believe that you can accomplish something, it's much more likely that you'll succeed. You have dragons and you have victims. These are people who are told that elements of society are holding them back, and they start to believe that. Well, that's only true in places like Swaziland. So you're going to need to work extremely hard to compete against the Chinese and the Indians. They're viciously competitive. Eventually, you want to start your own startup, and most fail. I think 9 out of 10 funded startups fail. So there's a very high failure rate there. And ideally, you want to try to do that when you already have, you've already kind of squared yourself away, so you're not losing sleep at night. But when we talk about startups, that doesn't reflect the maturity of a company. So a lot of firms will contact us and say, you called us a startup. We're not a startup. We've been around, X number of years, or they like to say, we're doing $200 million in revenues. We're not a startup. Well, startup doesn't reflect maturity. It's a label that refers to firms that start with the intention of exiting. In other words, creating a lot of value in a short period of time and making a shit ton of money. So before you can start a startup, you need to have some cash to develop a product or service. Now, raising money comes from 3 places. You can either sell equity, and you may sell that to angels or VCs or an institution. You can take on some debt, which is quite risky. If your startup fails, you're left with a whole bunch of debt. Or you can bootstrap it. This is the ideal way to do it. And there's plenty of successful startups out there bootstrapped. Here at Nanalyze, we're building a startup that's focused on retail investment subscription. Making money is all about hustle, period. It comes down to hustle, making yourself stand out. Go write handwritten applications and hand them to hiring managers. Go above and beyond. Do something that nobody else is thinking about. You will stand out. You will get hired. Learn from the mistakes of others. Watch for open doors. A lot of older people who hustled their way into wealth often want to open doors for younger people. And if you shine, if you stand out, they will. They enjoy giving young people a chance. And as I said, the person who goes out of their way to get noticed gets noticed.